Hello, and let's talk about crypto technicals today. After recent market crash, I want us to check where the market is currently heading to. And this is Ethereum, but before that, I want to start with Aster Coin. Aster Coin. Now, following the current market crash that happened yesterday on Sunday, where do I think that the current Aster Coin is heading to? Following the downtrend, I believe we are not yet bottom, but from the current chart, we need to fill this week. So after this consolidation right there and the market broke to the downside, I can expect the market to come and maybe run this week. Most of the weeks, if you notice on your chart, yeah, most of the weeks, those are imbalances and they must be filled, or at least 50% of the week. Now, if we assume it's going to touch at least 50% of the week, let's do a measure. 50% of the week, that's around either 0.58 USD per coin. But from what I've experienced in the market, I expect at least we run this week. That's around the 0.53 key zone. Yeah, we might come back down to run this week before we find any bottom before going back up. If you can see from what happened on BNB coin, BNB coin crypto, where is BNB? Yes, from BNB on the daily chart, was clear that you see once that during that October, I think it was October or November crash, it formed a very long wick. You see, the market formed a fairly long wick, which was later filled. If you go on your charts and check this, most of the time it happens once a market forms a long wick, especially on a higher time frame during crashes or during news. The wick has to be filled. You see, the market still came back down to that zone to fill that wick. So using the same concept, we still expect Asta to drop back down. Yeah, I know it's so heartbreaking to the holders. As myself, I'm holding Asta tokens too. I still believe it's a good project long term, but we haven't found a bottom yet due to numerous unlocks each every day, each every week. I guess this is what is affecting the token, but I guess once they release the layer 1 chain, maybe it will help Asta token to find that bullish news, that bullish momentum. So so far I still expect some downside maybe, but if you haven't maybe bought, it's maybe a good key zone to buy it from. But for now we are still heading down. That's what the chart is telling us. No, the news may be lying, but the chart doesn't lie, guys. So our current target for now on Asta is at least maybe we are heading to 0.5, because this week has to be filled. This week has to be filled. So if we fill this week, that means we are heading around 0.54. 0.54. So I am expecting downside before any upside. So if you're looking for a good place to maybe buy this token, I think below 0.5 is a good point, because once it gets back to the all-time high, you'll be at least 5 times your money. So if I want to add more Asta, maybe I'll add it below 0.5. 0.5, I expect more downside for now. Yeah, that's it for Asta. Now let's look Solana, maybe Solana token. Solana, where is it? Solana. Now Solana has already filled the wick. That's a good clear sign. Let me check something first here. Now, looking on Solana, let's go back to the higher time frame. Maybe let's do a weekly time frame. Nothing much going on. Let's zoom out. Okay, go back again. Now, on Solana, what can we see on the weekly time frame? We can see the first thing we have to look is determine our trading range. basing on this, we expected this low to break the all-time high, but it didn't. So that means it probably might be a weak low. So bad case scenario for Solana is maybe to go below 95.6. So that's the worst case scenario for now on the weekly time frame, because if you were to be bullish, we expected at least this low to break the whole time high at 295, but it failed. So that's why the market is coming back down. Now going back on the daily, maybe we can, yeah, you see the market respected that supply zone right there, and it's now heading down. We have already earned this key low right there on the 127 key zone. So our next support is likely 95.2. That's where we might be heading for now, since the market is still bearish. Yeah, on Solana we are still bearish. I don't think this will hold. Maybe if we get something like you see, this is the current market structure. You see that. So if we maybe get something like this, then we break. Now we might at least head up, but for now, more technicals, they are heading towards down. It's engineering more liquidity before heading down. So that's what is more likely to happen. For now, that's what is more likely to happen. We are more likely going to the 95 key zone, but that remains to be unseen, because news change the market. This is crypto, guys. Any major positive news can overturn the market and make everything to go back up. Now for us futures traders, on the 4-hour time frame, is there any major zone we expect maybe to give us a pullback? There is this demand zone. We can expect maybe at least some pullback from here. We can expect some pullback, but if you want to be safe, continue looking for sales. If you want to be safe, you can look for sales. I think sales are more safer for now. Yeah, that's it for Solana. I think there's not much happening today. The best thing is Solana has already filled the week. You see, this slight week here, Solana has already filled it, and that's the best thing. The faster it fills the week, the faster it's going to recover. Now that's the best thing about it. But for now, let's keep watching the market and look for any maybe slight bullish momentum. But for now, I'm still, my thoughts is that Solana is still going down, probably to 95 per coin. Let's look on Sui coin. Yeah, Sui coin is already almost completing its week. That's why I told you guys that the weeks are normally filled up. So I expect, I personally expect Asta to fill that week, and most of these coins I still expect them to fill that week. It's a major thing that it has to be filled out before any major. There's this key zone right here, this demand, so we might expect maybe some bullish momentum. From once we run this, we can expect maybe some bullish momentum at least from this. But if you zoom out, remember there's still this major week during the October, news. So we are at least 50% into that week. We are at least 50%, even more than that. But the worst case scenario is that if the market decides to fill this week, then the worst case scenario for Sui network is around 0.9 per coin. Yeah, 0.95 per coin. That is the worst case scenario where we might be heading towards to. And remember, in crypto everything is possible, because if you can see from the previous chart, the market had gone up, then retraced almost. Let me see. It retraced back almost 78%. So if we take the current structure, so if we go back to, if we get back to 0.96, that's around 82% drop. So it is still possible. So for a good long-term holders, I think it's still a very good key zone to buy. But if you already have your coins, Diamond Hearts still win in the end. So keep holding on to your coins. But for now, that's what I think that is going to happen. We need to fill this week. This is a very strong week that was formed during the major crash that happened in October. So if we are heading to fill it, then our target for maybe take profit for ourselves is around the 0.95. So if you are looking to buy Sui for long-term hold, at least buy it below $1, because it's more likely heading there. Yeah, if we go back to the daily, we can see that the market, not much. If you can see, it is forming a lot of liquidity. It is forming a lot of liquidity down here. So some people are more likely going to look for a buy, but it's not the best option. It is not the best option, because once the market has ran this buy stops, the next target is going for sales. Now I'm expecting it to continue dropping more and more to at least 0.97 key zone. Yeah, that's my thoughts on my long-term thoughts on Sui. On the 4-hour time frame for scalpers and day traders, on the 4-hour time frame, anything important? Yeah, we reacted from this supply. So the sellers are still in control. And their target is 1.3. That is more likely to drop to 1.3. So if you holding any buys, be careful. You can reduce your position size, because the market is still in a downtrend. Yeah, that's it for Sui.